Hi there and welcome to The Sweet Spot. I'm Mia Starr and today I'll be walking you through how to bake these fluffy, delicious confetti cake layers. This recipe is beginner friendly and great for learning how to decorate layer cakes. Let's get started. First, let's measure out all your wet and dry ingredients. You'll need a half cup of softened butter, 1 cup granulated sugar, a 1/3 cup of buttermilk, 1 teaspoon almond extract, 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, 3 room temperature egg whites, and a half cup of sour cream. For your dry ingredients, measure out 1 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon baking soda, and a half teaspoon of salt. You'll also need some rainbow sprinkles. I like to use a 1/3 of a cup for this recipe, but you can add more or less depending on how sprinkly you like your cake. Other things you'll need are 3 6-inch cake pans lined with your favorite pan release spray or oil and a square of parchment paper, a stand mixer with a paddle attachment or a hand mixer is fine as well. Also grab a separate bowl for your dry ingredients as well as a spatula, a whisk, and some toothpicks to check the doneness of your cakes. Now let's combine the dry ingredients, whisk together the flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt in a bowl and set that aside. Whisking together the dries before adding the wet ingredients helps to make sure that the salt and leavening agents are evenly distributed throughout the batter, which is important for even texture and flavor throughout the cake. You don't want to have a randomly salty clump in your batter. Next, in your stand mixer or in a separate bowl with an electric hand mixer, beat together the butter and sugar on high for 3 minutes until it's light and fluffy. This process helps create tiny air pockets in your batter, which will result in a fluffier texture and a more tender cake. Make sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl and the paddle a few times between mixing so that everything is incorporated. The butter should end up a little paler in color after this step, and then you're ready to add the egg whites. Turn the mixer down to medium speed and add the egg whites just one at a time, letting that mix in, and then stop the mixer and scrape down the sides of the bowl. Repeat this step with each of the egg whites. Be patient and add the eggs one at a time because if you add them all at once, it's just too much liquid all at once. Makes it difficult for the eggs to really mix in and emulsify with the other ingredients and form a smooth batter. Now let's mix in the sour cream, vanilla extract, and almond extract. Sour cream may seem like a weird ingredient for a cake if you're newer to baking, but it's really great for adding moisture and a tenderness to the texture, as well as a little tanginess that adds to the flavor so it's not just straight up sweet. Finally, it's time to add the dry ingredients and the buttermilk. To make sure all the ingredients mix together evenly, alternate between adding the dry ingredients and the milk, starting with the dry and then ending with the dry. So I start by adding about 1/3 of the dries, mix that in, and once they disappear, I add in about half of the milk. Once the milk is mixed in, then I add in the next 1/3 of the dries, then alternate again with the milk, and then finally one more time with the dries. Just when you see the dries disappear, your batter is just about ready. Just make sure to give it a good scrape with a spatula so that everything is mixed in. Now you can gently fold in the rainbow sprinkles to the batter. You can add more or less, but I find that about 1/3 of a cup is the perfect amount for this recipe to add those speckled pops of color. It's not too much and not too little. Once your batter's ready, it's time to divide it evenly between your 3 6-inch cake pans. I use my 1 cup measuring cup to divide the batter. Each pan gets a little more than 1 cup, so I start with a heaping cup and then scrape in whatever's left over. Once the batter's in the pans, use the back of your spatula to gently spread it out towards the edges. So see how I like to spin the pan away from me while I use the spatula to spread from the middle outwards towards me. Now stick these in the oven at 350 degrees for 20 to 24 minutes. You'll know the cake is done when you start to see it pull away from the sides of the pan, and stick a toothpick into the cake, and if it comes out clean, it's done. Before decorating, make sure you let your cakes fully cool. And that's it for this recipe. I hope you love it, and if you want to learn more about cake decorating, visit our website, thesweetspotworkshops.com, for more resources and online classes. See you there!